Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Mark My Brain. Today's episode will be a bit special, maybe a bit more intimate than the regular ones, because today we are going to talk about something very deeply human, and that is the feeling of being not good enough. And as always, we'll sort of go through some of the basics, lay some foundations for these thoughts. We'll take a look at some common roots and causes of this feeling. Where does it come from? We'll sprinkle in a bit of philosophy, where this feeling usually occurs. And of course, towards the end, we'll focus on how to approach and how to deal with these feelings of inadequacy, um, as well as some direct counterarguments to that ridiculous statement. I think that almost everybody has at some point in their life felt like they are not good enough or not enough, whether it's not smart enough, not successful enough, not attractive enough, or not worthy enough of love and belonging. Uh, I'd say this feeling cuts across every demographic, every profession, and every stage of life. I've looked at some statistics, and apparently 70% of all people experience imposter syndrome at some points in their life. And moreover, inferiority complexes, characterized by constant feelings of this inadequacy, affect millions globally. And all this prevails and the feelings persist despite the objective success and external validation one can receive. So, as you would probably guess, it's a matter of subjective experience rather than objective reality. Inferiority complex and imposter syndrome are common manifestations of these feelings of being not enough. And inferiority complex, as defined by American Psychological Association, involves constant feelings of inadequacy or insecurity due to beliefs about being physically or mentally inferior to others, regardless of whether such beliefs are rationally based. This goes far beyond occasional self doubt, and it can become pervasive, or it can become sort of lens through which individuals view themselves and their place in the world. Imposter syndrome represents another critical manifestation of these feelings of being not good enough, and is characterized by persistent feelings of fraudulence, despite objective evidence of competence and achievement. And unlike the general self doubt or the inferiority complex, imposter syndrome specifically involves the fear of being found out as incompetent, with individuals attributing their successes to luck rather than ability, and this sort of creates a vicious cycle where achievements fail to internalize as evidence of competence, leaving the person perpetually anxious about their next exposure as someone incompetent. And this can lead to, for example, cycles of proper preparation and procrastination, perfectionism with unattainable standards, and patterns of denying one's competence, discounting own intelligence, experience, or talent. And apparently, there can be a genetic predisposition for these feelings and issues. That's interesting, right? But of course, other factors play a significant role as well, and that's what we'll take a look at right now. So, what are the common roots or causes of this feeling, inescapable feeling of not being good enough? Of course, it can be childhood and upbringing. Those are definitely important factors, and there are some bits of information I've learned. Children who experience emotional or physical abuse, particular as punishment for their perceived shortcomings, often internalize these messages and develop lasting damage to their self-esteem. And inferiority, as identified by Alfred Adler, begins in early childhood when parents or guardians make unfavorable comparisons between children. When a child consistently receives messages that they are not adequate or good enough, they may feel helpless, vulnerable, or anxious, developing again broken self esteem. I wonder if experiences like you getting a B at school while most other classmates get C's or D's, but still getting scolded because you didn't get an A, also falls in this category. Hmm. Something to think about, I guess. However, moreover, research also indicates that children whose parents are overly controlling or overprotective or who alternate between praise and criticism are particularly vulnerable to developing imposter syndrome later in life. Similarly, children who experience high family conflict with low emotional support show increased likelihood of struggling with feelings of inadequacy throughout their lives. And last but not least, what's a bit paradoxical to me, even positive childhood experiences can contribute to these feelings of not being good enough. Children who are praised primarily for their, quote, natural intelligence rather than their effort may develop fragile self concepts that crumble when they encounter challenges in life. For example, academic success in childhood, while positive, can sometimes contribute to imposter feelings later when that individual faces more challenging environments where their previous advantages are no longer guarantee of success, I would say. This just again reiterates for me how fragile and difficult can raising children be and how careful as a parents we should be. Because you have here a lot of different things, right? From the emotional to physical abuse to comparing your child with other children, some control, overprotection, alternating between praise and criticism, some family conflict, which sometimes can't be avoided, right? Low emotional support. You have to keep all of this in mind. Of course, childhood and upbringing isn't the only cause or root of feelings of not being good enough. If we look at other common causes of feelings of inadequacy, you probably won't be surprised to hear that culture, especially today, can be a source as well. Because modern society bombards us with unrealistic standards from advertisers, social media, influencers, celebrities, and authority figures that create and sort of reinforce perceptions that fuel self doubt, I would say. You know, the posts and stories we can see on Instagram and other social media about how we should act, what we should acquire, what our bodies or our lives themselves should look like, can become internalized to such an extent that they fundamentally affect our self esteem and how we feel about our lives. And that's happening even if we objectively know that we shouldn't compare with others and take these things to heart. It still happens, right? Interestingly, social comparison theory explains how individuals with so low self-esteem tend to compare themselves more frequently with others, and specifically with the most successful people in their reference group. This creates an impossible standard, I would say, where no achievement feels sufficient because there's always someone who appears to be doing better. Here I would like to add a quote: comparison is the thief of joy. I don't know who said it or if it's just a common saying, but it to me appears to be more true every day. At least in my own life, because I'm very susceptible to comparing myself with others. So yeah, I have to be really careful about this tendency. I'm learning how to work with that and trying to keep that tendency in check. So if you're someone on a similar vibe, I would say, be careful as well. Don't take those posts that you see online to heart. Always try to remember that that's just people showing you the best slice of their life that doesn't represent the whole. It's often not even remotely true. Now let's take a quick detour to something a bit more philosophical, because to sort of highlight the significance of the issues of feeling not good enough, let it be known that even philosophy is no stranger to the topic. For example, the feelings of inadequacy can often reflect deeper existential concerns about meaning and purpose. Viktor Frankl, for example, argues that existential vacuum, a phenomenon characterized by widespread feelings of meaninglessness, is central to many psychological problems, and the feelings of not enough or not being enough then manifest themselves as questioning one's purpose and value in the universe. Or, on the other note, Albert Camus saw this existential inadequacy as a human reaction to the absurdity of life and universe, the discrepancy between our deep need for meaning and the universe that inherently offers none. He argued that it's not all purely negative, though. Recognizing the absurdity can be liberating, allowing us to create our own purpose and values. Overall, the feelings of inadequacy in existentialist point of view may reflect the anxiety that's tied to human freedom, as well as a responsibility for our own fate. Because with the recognition that we have to create our own purpose, can come the weight of this responsibility, right? With questioning our ability to make the right choice. In other words, whether our competency and choices are good enough. So that was the short philosophical detour. I find these always interesting, these ideas and thoughts. And again, this is something that resonates with me, tying that all into that existential question about meaning and purpose. Yeah, it hits home. But now, coming back from the abstract philosophical to the real world again. The number of situations or variations in which can the feeling of inadequacy, the feeling of not being good enough manifest are basically endless. And some typical experiences can be you not feeling smart enough. That can happen in school, in university, either during class, when preparing homework or studying for exam, or in work when you suddenly start to work with other coworkers and you feel stupid because you don't know the new program or what to do in certain situations. Or it can manifest as you not feeling competent enough. Basically, that can be basically anywhere. Again, from school or university to work or even leisure activities, right? You go online to play some chess and suddenly you just, when you lose a game, you just start feeling, I'll never be good enough. I'm not competent enough for this game. I'm just not built for this, right? And it can spiral out of control to, again, questioning your own values. Or another very common one I would say is I'm not good looking enough or I'm not attractive enough. And especially, for example, in public places or when you open social media, it can really hit home when you see those people apparently perfect with thousands and millions of likes sometimes, and with their seemingly perfect appearance. But again, that's not something that can necessarily reflect, or that's not something that necessarily reflects the real life, the real them, the real people underneath those photos or behind those posts. It can all very likely be just a fake. But still, those feelings can arise out of nowhere, right? You just go to a shopping mall or you just open Instagram, scroll reels for a few minutes, and suddenly it's here. Or another one that's also something that I've been seeing a lot from people browsing social media is I'm not successful enough. Especially today with the rise of sort of hustle culture online, when you look at social media or read the news or talk with other people about their lives or engage with posts and reels and whatever online with people that appear super successful, making millions or millions of dollars, or just, living the best of their lives, again, the feeling just creeps up on you and suddenly it's here, right? So those are some of the typical, I would say, scenarios of how can that feeling of not being good enough manifest in more specific manner. And I would say in work especially, these feelings can arise if you are new to the job, you were just hired, or you're changing teams, being promoted or being evaluated, which I think is a core to many of these experiences. You feel like you are being evaluated, right? And especially with the work, it's something that happens a lot. It's sort of the nature of the job, right? You are being evaluated if you are working well enough, if you are hitting the KPIs and the goals set for you. So, yeah, I can see how in work the feelings can arise very quickly. But one experience that stands out to me, as I think, as well as many other people, is feeling not good enough, not worthy enough, or not lovable enough after a breakup. Even the research reveals that breakups can cause individuals to question basically everything: who they are, what they are worth, and whether they even deserve love. The end of a relationship is always tough. And one of the reasons why that is because romantic relationships often become a key pillar of our identity. So when that pillar crumbles, the whole structure becomes unstable and even collapses. So that makes sense, right? This explanation doesn't make the feelings any less, but at least it makes sense, right? But interestingly enough, even in this pain, we can find something positive. It seems that individuals with sort of anxious attachment patterns tend to experience much greater distress and pain during breakup, which can in turn lead to more personal growth over time. That's because the intensity of that experience and their emotions motivates deeper self-reflection and maybe even tendency to countermeasure that pain of not being enough for someone with some objective marks of success. That's, in my opinion, for example, why many guys after breakup decide to hit the gym. However, in contrast, people with avoidant attachment styles usually suppress the distress from breakup, which can protect them from the immediate pain, but it also deprives them of opportunities for self-reflection, growth, and understanding. And now we are finally getting to some approaches, how to deal with this feeling of inadequacy. We've talked a lot about some negative things, right? How it can manifest in your own life, what are the causes, some childhood trauma if you want. But if you are someone that finds themselves thinking this a lot or feeling in this way a lot, what can you do? Let me start by giving you some evidence-based therapeutic approaches that efficiently address this feeling of not being good enough. I'll introduce just a few of them. One of the main ones is cognitive behavioral therapy, which shows great effectiveness in addressing the feelings of inadequacy. It targets the thought patterns and behaviors that maintain these feelings. It challenges the negative self-beliefs and tries to develop more accurate and compassionate self-perception. That's sort of the general description of cognitive behavioral therapy in this context. But again, if you're someone who struggles with it a lot, I would recommend it, right? What do you have to lose? Another pretty effective approach is practicing self-compassion. Self-compassion has showed itself as particularly powerful intervention for inadequacy feelings. It involves treating oneself with kindness during difficult times and recognizing one's struggles, imperfections, and pains as part of human experience. And the cool thing is, unlike self esteem, which often depends on feeling special or above average, self compassion doesn't require comparison with others or exceptional performance. This can make it a more stable and accessible foundation for self worth, I think. And practical self compassion can include some mindful self compassion training, compassion focused therapy. Again, you can bring it to the therapeutical setting. And also some simple practices like writing self compassionate, kind letters during your difficult times, or even everyday moments like stopping for a while and checking if you are treating yourself with respect and kindness that you deserve. Actively saying something genuinely nice to yourself and learning to congratulate yourself for your effort and making a habit out of these little things and behaviors, and vowing them into your life. The third practice or intervention that's sort of proved itself very effective is mindfulness based interventions. Mindfulness practices work by changing one's relationship with their thoughts and emotions rather than just trying to eliminate them. The mindfulness practice usually involves observing present moment experiences with just acceptance and no judgment, because this can help individuals recognize that thoughts like I am not good enough aren't objective truths, but only sort of mental events that come and go if we let them. And journaling, for example, is a great way to start working on mindfulness because you can recognize patterns, recurring thoughts, or self criticism. And in my own experience, just putting it on a piece of paper already helps you detach yourself from those thoughts and feelings. Mindfulness often goes hand in hand with self compassion. Apparently, as individuals learn to observe their self critical thoughts without judgment, they often spontaneously develop more compassionate responses to their struggles and imperfections. So you can see how it all can work together, right? And practically speaking, I think it will be a lot about bringing the mechanisms that happen in you unconsciously, automatically, to the front of attention and actively trying to rework them. The way I see it is a part of you has learned to behave or react in this way, in this certain way, for whatever reason, right? And now you have to spend some effort to relearn those reactions and patterns of behavior. Some specific cliff notes to bring this practicality into your own life can be: clarify to yourself your core values and try to evaluate your experiences and behavior based on those, not how others saw you, how you made others feel, but based on your internal values. Practice recognizing when you are seeking external validation and gently redirect your attention again to your internal measures of worth. And as mentioned, develop a habit of celebrating small effort, or big effort, really, and growth rather than only outcomes. Build competence in areas you genuinely want to grow in. Having skills and capabilities can provide a stable foundation for self confidence, I would say. And as Ryan Holiday, for those of you who know him, puts it, belief in yourself is overrated. Generate evidence. So this is something you can tie into it, right? Building a valuable skill set or some competencies that you can sort of lean on. Develop awareness to your inner critic. Practice mindfulness and then self-compassion, like we talked about a minute ago. Treat yourself as you would treat a good friend. And that's a great advice in my opinion, because for example, I have started writing my journal in second person and in this manner, like I am giving advice to a good friend, and it really changed the dynamic and helped me in certain situations a lot. So feel free to try it as well. Moreover, during especially difficult periods, practice writing yourself the kind and compassionate letter, acknowledging your struggles and offering love and encouragement, as we talked about. And last but not least, try developing a sense of purpose and meaning in your life, because that can help as well. And if you're struggling with that, perhaps my previous episode about pursuing happiness in life can help you there. Check it out. And these all are often small and very quick ways you can systematically start fighting against that part of you that keep saying you are not good enough. And slowly but surely, you will convince them that you are, either by building evidence, by changing the thought patterns in yourself, the behaviors, or just building some new foundations for that self-worth. I would say if you have learned to sort of self-doubt yourself, and these feelings of I am not good enough are sort of deep-rooted in you, it will be difficult and it will take time, but don't be discouraged by that. Think about it as building another habit, right? When you have some bad habit that you want to get rid of and replace it with something better, it also takes a lot of effort and a lot of time. And it's no different with mental habits, right? Like this one, for example. So, sending you strength on that journey. And now, for the final part of this episode, I have prepared a fairly extensive list of direct counter-arguments to that statement. I am not good enough, or you are not good enough. And if you allow me for a minute, I will try to be that kind and encouraging voice that perhaps have been sort of quieted down in yourself. So consider this. You are a being forged from stardust that traveled millions of light years across the cosmos, through supernovas and stellar death, through the formation of planets and the emergence of life itself, all culminating in the miraculous improbability of your existence. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the carbon in your DNA, all of it was created in the heart of dying stars. And that's a fact. You can check it. You are literally made of the universe contemplating itself. How could something so cosmically rare and magnificent ever be not enough? And by the way, did you know that your brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons, each capable of forming thousands of connections with other neurons, creating a network of staggering complexity that makes the internet look primitive by comparison? This 1.4 kilo organ in your skull is the most complex structure we know of in the universe, capable of consciousness, creativity, understanding, and most importantly, love. And speaking of love, you yourself are capable of love, which means you possess one of the most powerful and valuable forces in the universe. Your capacity to care about others, to feel empathy, to want the best for people and causes beyond yourself. This capacity for love is evidence of your inherent worth. Beings without value cannot create value, and yet you create value every time you love someone or something. Consider that if you can recognize goodness, beauty, and worth in others, you must possess these qualities yourself. You cannot give what you don't have, and you cannot recognize what you don't understand. Just your ability to appreciate the worth of others is proof that worth exists within you as well. And what's more, in the entire history of the human species, roughly 300,000 years and billions of individuals, there has never been anyone exactly like you, and there never will be again. You possess a perspective on reality that no one else has ever had or ever will have. Your particular way of understanding the world, the connections you make between ideas, the insights you have, the perspective, and the solutions you might discover are yours alone. The universe has invested billions of years in creating the unique consciousness that is you. Can you see how every problem you've solved, every person you've helped, every moment of beauty you've appreciated, every small kindness you've shown, that these contributions matter in ways you may never fully understand and that have value beyond measure? The butterfly effect suggests that small actions can have enormous consequences across time and space. So, your existence creates ripples that extend far beyond your awareness. And you have already contributed to the world more than you realize. With every smile you shared, every conversation that you brought someone comfort, every time you've listened when someone needed to be heard, your existence has prevented countless small tragedies and created countless small or big joys. And these contributions don't need to be celebrated or even recognized to be valuable in themselves. And have you stopped and thought about the fact that the statement, "you are not good enough," contains a fundamental logical flaw? It assumes that human worth, your worth, is static and based on current abilities or achievements. But you are not a fixed and static entity. You are a dynamic, growing, evolving consciousness with unlimited potential. You are always becoming, always improving, and gaining new experience. Even just the fact that you recognize areas for improvement is evidence of your wisdom, self-awareness, and reflection. Your ability to see where you might grow or improve is not evidence of inadequacy. Let me say that again. Your ability to see where you might grow or improve is not evidence of inadequacy. It's evidence of consciousness, wisdom, and potential. And this isn't the only logical flaw in the design of that original thought, the statement, "you are not good enough." It implies the existence of some standard of enoughness that you are failing to meet. But what is this standard, and who has the authority to establish it? If the standard is perfection, then literally every human being who has ever lived has been not enough, making that statement basically meaningless. And consider this: if you wouldn't tell a child you are not good enough simply for being a child, if you wouldn't tell an elderly person they are worthless because they can't do what they once could, if you wouldn't tell someone with a disability that they lack value, then why would you apply such a harsh standard to yourself? The compassion you show others reveals that you already understand that worth isn't based on achievement or ability. And the very concept of not enough assumes scarcity, like that there's not enough worth, love, or value to go around. But human worth isn't a limited resource that some people get more of while others get less. Worth is infinite and unconditional, available to every conscious being simply by virtue of their existence. And you in your core know this. Allow this concept to extend even to yourself. And last but not least, right now, in this very moment, you are alive, aware, and capable of experience. You can see beauty, feel emotions, think thoughts, and interact with the world around you. This present moment aliveness is inherently valuable and sufficient. It is enough. You don't need to earn your place in the universe. Let me reiterate, you don't need to earn your place in the universe. You are not preparing to become worthy. You already are worthy. You are not earning your place in existence. You already belong here. The universe doesn't make mistakes. If you exist, you are supposed to exist. Your presence here is proof that you are enough, because existence itself has declared you worthy of being. And with that, I would like to say goodbye to you. This is the end of today's episode. I hope you learned something interesting, and what more, I hope you will be a bit kinder to yourself now after what you've just heard. If I can be of support, let me be that. If I can encourage you, let me be the encouragement you need. And if you have any thoughts to share about this topic, I would be glad to hear it. And for now, take care of yourself and good luck. And hear you soon. Bye.